Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a bonus episode of Out of the Groove Power Hour. Brennan and I have been working on getting some exciting guests in line for the coming days and weeks. But in the meantime, there's just been so much going on in the world of NASCAR that we wanted to sit down this week and record, talk a little Sonoma, preview Iowa, a very exciting weekend. So no worries, we do have some future guests joining the show in upcoming episodes, but I hope you enjoy this. Again, I guess we're going to call this sort of a bonus episode of Power Hour. Much to cover. Hope you enjoy. How's it going, y'all? Welcome to the latest episode of Out of the Groove Power Hour, powered by Circle B Diecast. I am your host, Eric Eastep, joined, as always, by the one and only Brennan Poole. Brennan, how's it going? Good morning. You're running on fumes, literally. Yeah. Well, maybe not literally, figuratively. Do humans run on fumes? There's no fumes.
I don't know. Do we? I hear that some people run on Dunkin', but I'm not totally sure how that works either. But yeah, I am. I took the red eye in this morning from Sonoma, so I'm fresh off of the plane and ready to chat a little racing, only because I had such a great West Coast swing. So everything went really well for us and our team over the last couple of weeks. So we're very, very, very happy how things went.
We've got a lot of good stuff to talk about, Brennan. I'll ask you about your West Coast swing in a moment, but first we have to shout out our sponsor, Circle B Diecast. Brennan, I've got a pretty cool car to show off. If you head to circlebdiecast.com and use code OOTG, you get discounted shipping. Really appreciate the support from our friends over at Circle B. Brennan, I guess I'll go first because it's already in my hand, but I'm showing off a cursed diecast. You know, my favorite driver of all time was Matt Kenseth. This was his 2020 COVID car. He drove the 42 when Larson got suspended. They tweaked the paint scheme a little for him. They added like black to the side, which I actually kind of appreciate. I'm like, oh, it gives it his own Matt Kenseth flair. Kenseth had a pretty abysmal season, unfortunately. I think it was did not go out with a bang. Almost won the Brickyard 400 in a different paint scheme, though. That race, gosh, still haunts my nightmares. But wanted to show this scheme off because it is a pretty fun one. I think it's. I like to keep it on my shelf to remember that things can always get worse. It's like a grim reminder. But what do you got?
That's a great one. That's a great one. Well, in all the recent news that I know we're going to dive in and discuss about Tony Stewart and Haas shutting down. I have this old Tony Stewart car that I really like. It's the Home Depot Coca-Cola.
Oh, that's a good one.
With the polar bear. I don't think am I too close for my mic to
you win focus, this one.
But this is a classic, man. And then the old Pontiacs, the noses on these things are so cool. And so yeah, I have his teammates' car as well. They also did it on the 18. So yeah, this is a really cool car, but thought I'd shed a little light onto Tony Stewart as being a team owner, and now no more, it seems like.
That's a good pull. And it reminds me, I've been to the World of Coke Museum in Atlanta. I was there last year and was walking through different museum exhibits, and they had that diecast and the Bobby Labonte, I think it was Bobby Labonte Coke diecast side by side and like behind a glass case. And I just thought, oh, that's awesome. You know, the Coca-Cola crossover. So that's kind of fun. That's a good pull right there.
I love Coca-Cola too. That's like my one weakness is I like sodas. I don't need a whole lot of sweets or anything like that, but I love a soda, and I always used to love at Christmas time getting the cans with the polar bears on them. So having this like snow car with the polar bear on there is like, as a kid, it was like one of my favorite ones, you know?
That's a good one. That's a great one. Once again, Circle B Diecast, use code OOTG for discounted shipping. Appreciate their support. On that note, Brennan, did you see recently, I know you're a Texas guy like me, Dr. Pepper is now the second most popular soda in the United States. They passed up Pepsi in the last few months. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, but also understand, because it is also it's probably my second favorite, right behind Coke. So that makes total sense. It's right on par with me. So I'm good with that.
Well, I'm sure both of us could use a caffeinated beverage early this morning, especially you, that late red-eye flight back from the West Coast. Talk about the West Coast, though, Brennan. How was it the last 2 weeks? From Portland, Pacific Northwest, down to wine country. We'll get to the racing in a moment, but yeah, you do anything fun out west?
I did so many fun stuff, like so much fun, so many fun things, so many fun
There we
things.
go.
Look, I can't even speak apparently. Yeah, no, it was, man, I had so much fun. One thing I want to say is shout out to all the Portland fans. We did an autograph session there, and so many people came out. It was nuts, and everyone was just thanking us for coming and running and racing in Portland. And I just thought that that was just really really wild because it's like, yeah, of course, also they put it on the schedule, I have to be here. No, but it was cool, and they had a lot of cool items like posters, and it may be the last time that we raced there, so a lot of cool memorabilia, and I had family members and stuff that made the trip and
Wow.
went to the race and got shirts and posters and all kinds of stuff to remember the trip. So that was cool. So shout out to all the fans. But I went to Mount Rainier. I literally saw a blizzard in June, which I didn't think was
Whoa.
possible. I was in a blizzard, man. Like just snow coming down. I was not packed with the proper attire. I'm on the side of the mountain with my cousin Lindsay Thomas. I'm watching these people in like the full blown, like the snowshoes that look like tennis rackets. I don't even
Yeah.
know what they're actually called. They're like coming down the mountain, full blown gear. They have like the hiking, walking sticks and the snowshoes. And I'm just there like in a jacket. And we're like, we're
You're
not
out of
dressed
your
for
element.
this.
Oof.
Yeah, we're not prepared for this. So, we didn't do a whole lot of walking around because of that, but was literally in a snowstorm in June, which was just crazy to me.
Wow.
Um, but we did that. We went over to Cannon Beach, saw the big rock out there in the ocean, which was fun. I saw 1,000 pelicans, probably more than 1,000. I don't know. I've never seen so many pelicans in
Nice.
my life. You go to the beach, you might see one or two pelicans, maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Do you even
Yeah,
how many
there's a
times have you
few.
seen a
I
pelican?
saw some in
I,
Galveston recently, and that's Galveston, so I mean,
yeah, I mean, okay, there you go. But I saw like thousands of them
oof.
all together on the beach. I don't know if they're trying to get warm or what was going on. I've never seen that many pelicans before in my life. And then of course, I drove down the coast with my family members and Lindsay and everybody, and we went hiking in the redwoods for a couple days, which was
I'm
just a lot
jealous.
of fun. And oh man, very beautiful. It's just something about it is special. That place is really really special. So getting to connect with nature and having this little break, it's just in between the two races was just so great. And then yeah, I went to Sonoma, and my mom was a California girl, and I was born in Sacramento, so not too far away. My parents used to go to back in the 80s, they could go and taste wine and do all that stuff, and it didn't cost anything. And so they would go there all the time on like dates, so I got to go to some of the wineries that my parents used to go to, and my dad was out there, so we got to spend some time together, and yeah, man, we just enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. And of course, the racing went pretty well for me and
Yeah.
my guys too. So we really enjoyed the week. It was just it couldn't have gone any better.
That's awesome. Yeah, happy flight home, man. Northern California redwoods. That's like on my bucket list to get out there
Yeah.
someday. It's such a hike, but glad that you were able to kind of make the
Mhm.
most of the trip since y'all went all the way out there. But let's talk a little about the racing. Yeah, 16th at Portland, right? 14th at Sonoma. A couple of solid finishes, an average finish of 15.0. Brennan, we talk all the time. I never really like went back and studied you in the past, and we haven't really talked about this. But how do you like road courses? Do you look forward to the road courses, or are you coming out here like, hey, 14th and 16th, we'll take it. Let's get back to going left. Like, how did you fare? How do you feel about road course racing in general?
Well, I've always really enjoyed the road courses. I think at the beginning part of my career, they were a challenge. I really didn't do a whole lot of road course racing other than in legend cars a little bit. So, in the beginning, I really didn't know what I was doing. But through sim time and spending more time with other road course drivers, one of my teammate for years or for a year, I should say, when I've known him for years, was Justin Marks, who was a very good
Oh
road
yeah,
course racer. And so I learned a lot of stuff from him on the days that we'd go to the simulator together. And so yeah, I've spent just a lot of time on the sim and doing a lot of road course stuff, and I really just, sort of started to fall in love with it. And I do a lot more road racing on the sim now that I do oval stuff, just because I enjoyed so much. And I race, the GT3 cars and the
nice.
the supercars and everything else on there, and have fun with the LMP2s. So I really just enjoyed the road racing. So I think because of that, it sort of made me a little bit better at it in real life. So yeah, Sonoma was my first time ever there. So that was, a
Oh,
lot of
really?
prep went into that. Yeah, it was my first
You didn't
race.
race last year?
Nope, I didn't race last year. So it was my first start in
What
wine
what
country.
was going through your head that one when I think it was Gibbs and Chandler Smith, they all got spun on the top of the hill. I see
Yeah.
you and Ryan Ellis, your teammate, sliding through the dirt. Y'all just said, "Oh, we'll go this way." What were you
Yeah,
thinking then?
I was already like, I saw them wrecking and I just didn't know where they were going to go. And I didn't want to get run over from behind. And I'm like, well, if I just go right, I mean, I'll just go around it. I mean, I know it's just a giant open area
Dune
and
buggy.
hopefully, and I couldn't see anything. Oh, I was, man. I was behind through the whole thing. Just, and you have no traction. So you're just like sliding all over the place. And then I came out of the wreck and I was like, wow, I missed everything. And I'm ahead of like half the field now.
That's
This
that's
is great.
that's when you pause and you're like, "Am I allowed to do that?" NASCAR's always got
Well,
their weird rules.
they did. They put me back behind
Yeah.
cars again, but it was
Yeah.
like still, I'm like, man, I wasn't in the wreck. I didn't slow down, stop. I mean, if you stop and you're like, whatever, sometimes they can push, you
Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
spots, but I just went around it in the dirt and came out the other side and I was totally fine. So yeah, that was pretty wild. But like, I don't know, man. Like, it took me a long time because I hadn't raced there before. I didn't know what I needed in my race car. I'd like told Frank, my crew chief, he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I was glad we got the 55 minutes of practice so I could get more seat time at the track. And
That's big.
so I
That's
think,
true.
as things got better, I got better. We didn't qualify real great. I overdrove. I looked at the SMT, I looked at the data, I was watching SVG's laps and seeing what he was doing. And then I tried to, copy or emulate sort of what the faster guys are doing. And I just overdid it because I just didn't, you don't know what you don't know. So you're just trying things to try to learn. And so I overdid it on both my laps that I got. And then we were like, well, we're in the race, so we'll just start the race. And then in race, I just started the race way too loose, and we kept making adjustments and got better each stop. And then at the end, yeah, missed the wreck and put myself in position to passed a couple cars and made a couple good moves and got up to 14th and was battling pretty hard with Riley Herbst in the 98. We passed each other back and forth a couple times and fighting for that
Nice.
13th place. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I mean, I had so much fun and I was just happy that I got better and we were able to make the car better for me and then at the end of the race we were running, really good competitive times. And so I was happy with that for my first time there.
Yeah. On the plus side, I guess, it's your first time at Sonoma. A lot of these other guys have laps at Sonoma, but not this version of Sonoma with the
Yeah.
freshly repaved surface. It looked, at least on TV, it looked noticeably faster, especially with the Cup cars, which obviously corner a lot better at this type of track. But even the Xfinity cars, it looked faster and I think resulted in more of those pileups, more of those wrecks. Everyone was on just a
Yeah.
little bit more edge, I guess. But good job. Great stuff. That was fun to watch you literally, I guess, slide past the chaos a few different times there. Top
Yeah.
15 finish. You mentioned both supercars and Shane Van Gisbergen a moment ago. I want to talk
Mhm.
about him for a moment because while you seem to have had a really nice West Coast swing, Shane Van Gisbergen had a perfect West Coast swing, 2 for 2, winning both at Portland and Sonoma, his first two Xfinity Series wins of his career. Well, I'll just start with this. What did you make of him winning those two races? Was it surprising? I mean, you even said that you were studying his data. Like, is he the premier road course racer in NASCAR? I guess in your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's incredibly, incredibly talented at that style of racing. I think it's something he's done his whole life and he's perfected it. And so I think, with more understanding of the Xfinity car, which I know he talked about, the car's different and I got to learn stuff and whatever, whatever. But it's just it's something he's done his whole life. So he's able to take what he's learned and apply it to these road courses, and it's really paying off for him and pace. But I think it's hard to say yet. I mean, I think AJ Allmendinger is still probably like the main road course guy in our series. Obviously, SVG is like, he's on the come
He's
up,
he's
but
making a
it's hard to
splash.
take that. it's hard to take all that credit away from Allmendinger at this point, right? Like,
Yeah.
and be like, oh no, it's SVG. Like, he's got to, do some more before we just take,
Oof.
jump ship on him. But yes, I think it's been incredibly impressive. One back to back, just very impressive. But
Yeah,
I think we all knew he was very good at road courses, right? He came in and ran a
that's
cup
true.
race in Chicago and won right off of the rip. So I don't think it's surprising. I think it's expected. And I think part of the reason why he's getting this opportunity over here is because of his ability on road courses. Obviously, it's not, for the ovals. I
So
think he's gotten a lot better at the ovals as the years gone on. But I think he still has a lot to learn, and I think he's still experiencing and feeling things he's never felt before. But he's adapting quickly because that's what talented race car drivers do. And
yeah.
and so yeah, I'm excited to see how he continues to progress. He's put himself in the playoffs, take some pressure off of him to now just really just learn and soak everything in on the ovals and start getting ready for when the playoffs hit. We do have that Roval in there in the playoffs, so that'll be
Yeah.
interesting if he can put himself in position
Do
at
Xfinity
the end of
cars
the
go to
year.
Watkins Glen this year?
Yeah, we
Oh
do.
boy, there you go. I mean,
There you
I'm
go.
just saying it's shaping up well for him. I
Yes, it
will.
is.
I want to ask. Well, kind of on that note, you're talking about his ovals. Yes, he's still figuring out the ovals. Though I was surprised. I looked up his numbers the other day. His only finish outside the top 20 this year at a non-drafting oval was Las Vegas, where he blew an engine. Like he's had some top. He was top 15 at Darlington, top 15 at Charlotte. Like I know in that car he should probably be top 10 if he's a oval regular, but
Yeah.
still, like I think Shane Van Gisbergen, you kind of said it. I think he's adapted very quickly. From what I can tell as a fan, just watching on TV or watching in the grandstands, like I think he's adapted to the cars pretty well, especially the Cup car. It's similar to what he drives or has driven overseas. I think he's starting to adjust to the tracks. Obviously, he's a great road course racer. There's half a dozen or so road courses on the schedule now, so that plays to his strengths. He's starting to figure out the ovals. But what I noticed at Sonoma was it seems like he's adapted to sort of the aggression level. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
if you saw this, but he did a press conference before Sonoma where he kind of admitted that, hey, in some of those 50-50 moments, especially on restarts, I'm too conservative. I'm not always aggressive enough. And then, I mean, I don't know if you had a view of it on the racetrack, but if you saw the replay, to win at Sonoma, he kind of bodied Austin Hill a little there on that restart. I mean, does that tell you that maybe he's adapting to more than just the cars? Like maybe he is more adjusted to the NASCAR way of doing things than we realize. It hasn't. It's only been a few months. Like I don't know. That's where I come from. I look at this and
Yeah.
say Shane Van Gisbergen is, I think, slightly exceeding expectations this year. I expected him to win a road course race before the playoffs. I'm not sure about two, and he could have won Circuit of the Americas. He was right there in the mix until he got
Yes.
penalized. So I feel like Shane has done a really good job. I guess my next question for you, Brennan, do you think he's Cup Series ready? Because there's chatter out there that Trackhouse might put him in their third car next year. I don't know what sponsorship looks like, what sort of obligations
Yeah.
they may have, but do you think that's the right decision?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't really have to. I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, I suppose. But I will say, play devil advocate here a little bit on the other side of things. I think I have only three finishes not inside the top 20. So, and I'm in a car without leased engines or anything, and I'm
Good
racing
point.
around SVG every week. So, from
Yeah.
my experience, because I'm literally door banging with them every single week, I can see it. So, me personally, at this moment today, I don't think so. But I don't have to make that decision. So like
Yeah.
they can
I
do that if they want, but that's not, from what I've seen, no, I think he needs a lot more time on ovals. And I think the cup car is a totally even crazier thing to on ovals than what he's even experiencing now. So I don't know. I mean, yes, is he can he win road course races? Yes, for sure. But the ovals thing is just still, I think for me, I need to see a lot more
That's the thing. It's
than what
like
I've seen.
I agree with you. I think if he goes cup racing next year, he'll run 25th to 30th at most of the ovals. He'll be in contention at super speedways like everyone. And then the 4 or 5 road courses or however many there end up being next year, because they might go to Montreal and Mexico City. Who knows? He'll obviously be in contention for the win. It'll be like AJ Allmendinger, who I think
And
has
those
been
cup
for many
guys,
years.
maybe they don't care because they know they got a shot to win those road course races, and it puts them in the playoffs, and
Exactly.
it's still a business. And if you can win at those tracks and do it consistently, then they like, do the ovals matter? Maybe they doesn't matter to them
That's
at
the thing.
all.
Like
I don't
if,
know.
if this
But
was
if we're gonna break
15,
everything down, I mean, I would say no. He needs to find a way to get better on ovals, which is just going to come with experience because he is
Yeah.
talented and he is getting better and there's progress there every single week. So they see the progress and they see him developing. And I'm just saying, yeah, I'm still seeing more time. That doesn't mean he doesn't get
Yeah.
there by the end of the year, but I mean, I don't know. We'll just see. I'm so glad I don't have to make that decision.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's the kind of thing where 15 years ago we wouldn't be having this conversation. I don't think, unless he brought just gobs of sponsorship. I don't think we'd be talking about putting him in Cup because 15 years ago a win did not lock you into the playoffs, didn't lock your team into
Yeah.
all that bonus money. Whereas now one win at Coda in March, that's a huge payday for the team. That's a huge deal for the team. And, now you can afford to bring in specialists and take big swings at specific tracks. And that's where I think Shane Van Gisbergen may have some value if they put him in a Cup car next year. That's good on that topic, Brennan. We do have a lot more to get to before we bring in Josh Williams, so I'll kind of leave it there. Although I do want to ask, did you see the photo going around of Austin Hill flipping off Shane Van Gisbergen while he does burnouts in his rearview mirror? What did you make of that?
Yeah.
Did you have a reaction to that?
I don't know. It's still entertainment, so I guess it was entertaining to see, and a lot of people were talking about it and thinking that was funny or cool or whatever. So I mean, yeah, I
Have
mean,
you
I think
seen
it's
Have you seen
fine.
the internet's the internet does not like Austin Hill. I try to be very fair to everyone. I can see
Mhm.
why the internet doesn't love
I
Austin
can see
Hill.
see why too, but I don't think there's any reason to not like it. I mean, Austin Hill, we've always raced well with each other. I mean, so like I don't really
Yeah, you don't
think there's
have
any issue
yeah.
there. I mean, it's the end of a road course. Elbows out, you're going to go for the win. I don't see anything wrong with anything that happened there. I don't think flipping off or taunting and doing burnouts or anything. I think that all that's kind of stupid in my opinion. I mean, like, you got beat. You don't need to flip. Austin Hill does flip, likes to use the bird a lot, but it's just like, why? What do you?
It's just
I don't
sign
like
language.
that.
He's
I
he's
don't.
he's
Yeah,
bilingual.
but it's just not. It's just like who, like it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
do anything. It's just like it's
That
just
feels old
stupid.
fashioned. I've heard that like
No,
drivers
you know what they need to
nowadays,
start
yeah.
doing? This is my favorite thing to do. Instead of the bird, you just give them a thumbs down out the window. Just thumbs down.
That's harder to do out
Boom.
the well, I guess not. I guess it's pretty easy to
Exactly. That's
adjust when
more skill. You stick it out the window and you just thumbs down them.
ooh.
There's no reason for birds or like taunting burnouts and burning out. Like that,
It was very
come on,
WWE. It
guys.
was very
Yeah, it's
the
just
script writers were on one with that whole play.
yeah.
I appreciate you chiming in on that, Brennan. Let's move on. I would like to talk about some of the big news since we last recorded. Stewart Haas Racing, I know everyone's aware of this at this point. They announced they are selling all four charters. They're planning to close up their Cup Series shop at year's end. Before we get into some of the maybe Xfinity Series ramifications, Brennan, what was your reaction to that news when it all came out?
Just kind of shocked in a way. I mean, they're one of the big teams in our sport that we've always had there for quite some time, and have won championships and always seemed like money and their business was always strong. So it's strange. I thought in the beginning that this might be a play towards NASCAR, like, hey, like if you don't rev share more with us, like we're gonna shut down, like, and NASCAR being like, okay, whatever.
Called their bluff, and
Um,
then it wasn't a bluff.
yeah, I don't think it was a bluff. It was like, and I think it's more teams, unfortunately, will sort of have these problems if they don't rev share more. And maybe NASCAR doesn't think that. I know there's still like stuff going on with the charters and the whatever, and they're talking about it, but it's just it's very difficult to be profitable right now because all the teams know what it takes to create speed. And once you know what it takes to create speed, there's no going back. It's a race team. You're gonna spend the money and you're gonna hire the engineers and you're gonna have the people and you're gonna pay and spend money for that speed. That's not going to change. But I think with how sort of that rev split works, I mean that they should definitely. And I'm on the side that they need to share more money with the teams. The teams and the drivers are the ones that put on the show. They are the entertainment, and they deserve to get paid for putting on that show. So I
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I will see what happens. It's still NASCAR's deal, and we
It's
know
their
we're sort of
sandbox, as people
yeah,
have
that's
said.
sort of
Yeah.
what they say. We're playing in their sandbox, and they're gonna do
Yeah.
it. And I think until there's not like more problems than just Stuart Haas
This
shutting down. It won't change. So
this was
I don't know.
a big potential wake up call, I feel like.
Mhm.
And kind of on that note, it's a tough business. It's even tougher if the owners aren't fully emotionally invested. Like, if you're emotionally invested, if you love racing, if you love being at the track, the margins can be a little slimmer. But I think it was clear Tony Stewart, Gene Haas, they've got so many other things pulling at their attention. I think their time in NASCAR just kind of run its course, maybe. And maybe that's the argument NASCAR will make when bringing up, oh, Stewart
Yeah.
Haas shut down. Well,
Nah, you don't
Tony,
shut down. You
Tony's
don't shut down profitable businesses.
exactly. That good
You
point.
don't.
Good
So,
point. That is a
and I
strong
know.
argument.
I know the drag racing and all that stuff. Tony's
Yep.
focused on that, but the drag racing teams and stuff are those teams are doing well, and it's a
Yeah.
profitable deal over there, So,
Well,
it's just a different thing, and I don't know what's going on with the Haas's Formula One team. I'm sure that takes up a lot of his time
absolutely.
and a
Yeah.
lot of the money also being spent there on that deal. So,
Well, I
it's
want.
definitely interesting.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you then about the Xfinity team because Stuart Haas just won the Xfinity
Mhm.
Series championship with Cole Custer. They also field the 98 for Riley Herbst. There's been some chatter that even though the Stewart may be gone completely, some of Gene Haas's uh, people might stick around and operate an Xfinity team in some capacity next year, which I don't know if they'll stay with Ford, but Ford desperately needs seats in the Xfinity series, it seems like. So what have you heard on that front? I know you're in the throes of silly season free agency yourself, but what have
Mhm.
you heard out
Mhm.
of could Stuart Haas still have an Xfinity presence?
Yeah, I think it'll just be a Haas. And it'll probably be. I think I'm hearing that they're still going to have the two Xfinity cars.
Mm.
So I'm assuming the 98 and the 00 will stay the same. But I've heard all kinds of rumors too that maybe Joe Custer is getting one of the four charters, and they're going to move and be, I think, in the Xfinity building. I think it's a separate shop. I'm not totally sure, but and run a cup car into. But I mean, you hear those rumors. You don't know if it's true or not, or what. But I mean, I could see that happening, and maybe Haas keeping one of them. I don't know how the charters are broke down between him and Tony, right?
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
know those breakdowns, but or how any of that works. But that's certainly I could see something like that happening, and it just being Haas
Especially if
or
they
it
can't
just
sell
being an
all
Xfinity
four.
team.
I mean, you've
Yeah,
got
that's what's crazy
with
to me. You and I were talking before the show, and
with
it's
no
like,
charter agreement either, like that until that gets ironed out. Front row took
mhm.
the plunge. They just bought one, but you hear 2311 and even Trackhouse, they're like, yeah, we're probably gonna buy one, but let's wait for the ink to get to dry.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting deal, and I don't, who's gonna buy another one? Who's gonna buy another one
Yeah,
out of the teams that are out? Like who Roush, RFK,
there's other teams
maybe they've talked
interested,
about
but
it. Even Brad though at Wilkesboro was like, yeah, we're not really ready to do that
yeah,
ourselves. Like we're just not ready. We don't have the people. It's like, okay, yeah, I could see that. Like who?
I know
I,
it's a
I
great
just don't.
question, which is why if Joe
Yeah.
Custer or Haas keep one charter and at least for a year, like that's believable. I'd
Mhm.
buy that theory, no doubt.
Yeah,
But
and I don't know. I think Cole Custer very well could be driving that car. Could be just driving a Haas Cup car
there you go.
next year, and that'll be that. But I mean, again, we're just kind of speculating. So
Yeah.
nobody come for me, please. I'm just talking.
Hey, we're just trying to
I
make
don't
sense
know.
of it. We're just trying to connect all
Yeah,
the threads and just like, this could
yeah.
happen. Oh, but here, this could do it as well. It's a puzzle. It's just a puzzle that everyone,
It's
because we're bored, it's June, it's the
mm,
dog days of the regular season. We gotta have something to try and, to keep our brain active, to focus on. And that's what this is. So,
mhm.
Brennan, I want to ask you about Iowa Speedway. Xfinity
Okay.
Series, Cup Series, actually ARCA this weekend as well at Iowa. Very exciting for the NASCAR Cup Series to head to Iowa Speedway for the first time, but of course you'll be there as well in the Xfinity car. I assume you've raced at Iowa before, right? What do you
Yes.
make
Yeah.
of NASCAR being back there, especially the Cup Series coming there for the first time? It's a new look Iowa. I don't know if you've had a chance to really
Yep.
study the
Yep.
like semi repave reconfiguration over there, but what do you expect to see this weekend at Iowa Speedway?
I don't know, man, because they paved it so weird
Yeah.
that I don't know if it's going to create more entertainment or if it's going to not be good. I mean, who knows? I mean, we'll have to see. I have some simulator time coming up for that weekend. I'm curious to see how that's going to be in the sim with the patches. I don't know. We'll just have to see it. I mean, I got to imagine that uh, we're just going to be wrapping the bottom for the most part, from what I understand. When the cup cars went and practiced there, that it took like 3 hours for the track to even somewhat remotely like up to speed. It was just so slick. So,
Wow.
we'll just have to see what happens, man. But yeah, I got to imagine it's going to be another strange one. It's either going to be like a really wildly entertaining race with all kinds of crazy stuff happening, or just not much happening and glued to the bottom of the racetrack. So we'll see. I've always really loved Iowa. I think it's a great track. It's a great facility. The fans out there are nuts. I'm hearing that everything is like literally everything is sold out.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be packed.
it's going to be packed, and that's really fun for us too. So as drivers, like I really enjoy racing in front of a packed house. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great weekend. But I just think I think it's a big unknown on what the race is going to look like, right? I mean, we
Yeah,
really just don't know. I mean, the track's paved in different sections and different. I mean, different. I
it's
mean,
weird. The
it's weird.
I can't get. I've burned the image of Christopher Bell's face during that test a few weeks ago. You could just see the quiet pain in his eyes because he loved old Iowa. He's won there a few times in an Xfinity car. That was one of his favorite tracks. He tests on the partial repave and is like, I mean, some of Iowa's still in there. I mean, but what can we really expect? I feel like it'll be like
I don't
Kansas
know.
was when they repaved it. It was kind of a weird one groove track, but the races were kind of fun because if you stepped out of that groove at all, you wrecked, and there was
You're right.
chaos and carnage, and people love that stuff. So we'll see.
That's
We'll see what
Yeah, that's what
happens.
I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. It's like it's either going to be like a really wild carnage, crazy race, or that one groove, just not a lot happening type of situation. And so I don't know. And who knows? It could be a better race for the Xfinity cars, or flipped, and better race for the Cup cars and not as good for the Xfinity cars, or whatever, right? Like you just never know in these types of situations, like which show is going to end up ultimately being the one that everyone talks about over the weekend. But I'm excited to see what happens for sure. I mean, it's just going to be a different thing, and who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, the unknown can be exciting at least. So
Correct.
we'll look forward
Yeah.
to that. Going to be fun to see the 44 Smack Door Systems colors this week, right?
Yes, it is.
That's a
Yep.
beautiful paint scheme. That's going to be fun. Well, good luck this weekend, Brennan. Let's get to our final segment, the fan questions. And this segment, as is the entire segment that is this show, is brought to you by our friends at CircleBDiecast.com. Again, use code OOTG for discounted shipping. What is it? We're recording this the week of Father's Day, maybe a last minute Father's Day present. There's never a reason not to go pick up the latest diecast from your favorite driver, maybe a favorite paint scheme that's caught your eye this year. So that's CircleBDiecast.com. Brennan, we've got a few fan questions. People left comments underneath our latest YouTube episode of Power Hour. We'll kick things off with this one from Time Changer 9162. They ask, what is one rule that has been taken out of NASCAR that you would put back, such as race to the line or no double yellow line rule at super speedways?
Man, isn't that such a hard question? Because I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of those rules that have been put in place are some of it's like safety. So like I don't want to say like not that because of the safety
Yeah, yeah.
safety reasons. Um,
Most rules,
you
there's
know,
common sense. Like I think about even rules like double file restarts. I like that. I wouldn't
yes.
go back on that.
Yeah, I like the double file restarts.
Yeah,
Sometimes I get a little bit annoyed about the choosing because it's like,
yeah.
maybe it should just be you don't get to choose. It's just you are
I
what
like
you
the choose.
are.
I like the choose
I know
because
that some of the people like to choose, but as a driver, it's like they're counting like one, two, three, four. Which lane are you going to go? What's the best lane? Well, this lane's definitely the best. Are they going to give up? Do I need to give up four
well,
spots
would
because
you
the top's
rather?
going to dominate? It's just like so much extra crap.
But
Just
would you rather choose or would you rather be forced to restart outside at
I
Martinsville
have
every
no idea.
restart?
I have no idea what's better. I have
Yeah,
no idea
that's
what's
tough.
better. And because what does it matter? We still are almost splitting it even anyways. So it's like
One
I
rule,
don't know.
one rule that they've sort of, I'd say the rule that I would change or go back on is the no locking bumpers rule, because it's so selectively enforced. I feel like I think it's still a rule across all three
It's
series.
a rule. Yeah, it's still a
like,
rule.
Don't lock bumpers at super speed. It's like, yeah, but at 2 laps to go, everyone's locking bumpers. They don't call it. You know what I mean? Like, I just scrap that rule. Go back to however it was written 10 years ago. Or
to tandem rate to then I mean
they're not going to tandem like they did in 2011.
Not.
But yeah,
I don't know. Maybe probably not. I don't know. Sometimes too, like the stages are cool, and I love racing for the extra points, but like also the strategies are not really in the races as much anymore, because like we all know when the cautions are coming out, and then we just like literally we pit stage 1.
That's what I would
stage
do.
2, we split the last stage. It's like maybe we just get rid of this stage. Maybe we just get rid of this.
I would go back. Last year they tried no stage cautions at road courses. I would go back to that, at least for the road courses, and maybe the super speedways as well, because I don't think you don't need to re-rack them at Daytona. You're already lined up in a big pack. Like,
you're already racked. You're already 3 wide the whole time. No, that's actually a good point, Eric. On the super speedways, no cautions for stages.
It's just waste time.
There's probably gonna make a caution if they're like, well, you still get the points at the end of the stage.
That's true.
All hell's gonna break loose. But that might be fun to watch.
Great question, time changer. Next one. This one's for you, I think solely for you, Brennan, from Brian is the GOAT. Do you have any plans to do more cup races after racing for Rick Ware Racing part-time last year, or even perhaps go back to full-time Cup Series racing? If so, which team would you try to get a deal done with, Brennan?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I really enjoyed the races I got to run for Rick last year. I'm pretty close with with Rick Ware and his family and everybody over there, and so I definitely would love to run some more races for them. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Maybe I'll get to some this year. I don't know yet, but that would be a lot of fun. I'd really enjoy it. It's tough. I think there are a couple opportunities I think for me. On Sundays, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to some sponsorship money and the right opportunity opening up for me. So, I kind of know what those are and what they look like, which I won't talk about them, obviously when you get to Racing Cup, it's so special, to be one of the top 36 guys, in the world. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. So anytime you get to go and do that, it's special, and that's where all of us as kids dream of getting to do that. So I definitely want to go back and I'd love to race on Sundays full time again. I love the Xfinity series. I have a ton of fun racing over there. It's so much fun, and we'll see what happens. I think I'll have some opportunities to do either next year, and we'll just see what ends up being the best thing for me.
Very exciting. Exciting stuff. Well, this final question, I think, ties back to, we opened our last episode, Brennan, if you'll remember, you were just coming back from the candy and snack convention in, I think it was in Indianapolis. And so we talked all about candy and sweets at the start of the show. So Big Hand 1530 asked, while on the topic, I guess we must have mentioned Willy Wonka, like Wonka chocolates or something. They asked, what is yours and Brennan's favorite version of Willy Wonka, along with favorite Willy Wonka movie? I'll let you go first. You're the movie guy. I guess we're both kind of movie guys. But...
I mean, I think it's hard to beat the first one, to be honest. In my head, it's just the first one is the best. I mean, Johnny Depp was cool, and
it was different. I'll give him credit for doing it different.
Way different and weird and wild. Yeah. And I did enjoy the Timothée Chalamet version. I know there's a lot of people that didn't, but I actually think that's a fantastic movie, and I liked the singing and the story and everything about it. I thought it was really well done. So I enjoyed it, but I don't think anything beats the first Willy Wonka movie. But I don't know. Other than that, I guess that's all I would have to say. What is my favorite version of Willy Wonka? Yeah, number one. Yeah,
I think Gene Wilder was probably my favorite. I also saw the most recent. I appreciate that the newest one with Timothée Chalamet was not just a straight up remake. It was sort of a prequel. Yeah. It was a different story. I guess.
Yeah.
I would say somebody pointed this out to me after watching it, and I was like, you're right. The only problem I had with the new one is it felt like it was sort of missing the sinister undertones that the original Willy Wonka kind of had.
Mm-hmm.
It was a much more brighter outlook, which I guess makes sense because it's starring a young Willy Wonka who's still naive and new to the world, big ideas, big dreams. So I guess thematically, tonally, it does make sense, but that's one of the things I loved about the original Willy Wonka story was it's just kind of dark underneath. These kids are getting mutilated and punished for their bad behavior. I'm like, oh, like your Grandpa Joe and Charlie almost get eviscerated by a giant fan. Like this kind of dark when you really stop and think about it. So I would agree. I think the Gene Wilder, the 1970s, I think Willy Wonka is probably my favorite, but I do appreciate the Johnny Depp, Tim Burton Willy Wonka. That was the one that came out when I was a kid, and so I saw it and I was like, whoa, this is not the Willy Wonka my parents showed me, but it was abstract and I loved it. So what a wacky question, but I didn't expect to talk Willy Wonka and have strong Willy Wonka takes on a NASCAR show, but
talk about it back-to-back episodes, man.
I know. We're becoming typecast as the candy and movie show. Well, every racing show has to have its niche, has to have it's something that sets it apart, I suppose. That's us, Brennan. Well, this was a pretty sweet episode, if you don't mind me saying. That was bad. Yeah, that was
awful. You're turning into Kevin Harvick in the booth.
Yeah.
What a kerfuffle.
Well, on that note, if you want to have your question potentially answered in our next episode of Power Hour, leave a comment underneath the YouTube version of this show. You can always tweet at us as well on X. I just smacked my microphone on X. Just smacked my microphone again. I'm flailing my hands all over the place. Apologies to our listeners out there. But yes, leave us a question. We love answering them. Brennan, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap things up here and go race at Iowa?
No, I mean, leave us some questions. If you want to check out my Patreon, you can. I'm going to give away my money shoes that I have I've been racing with all year. Some of my followers on there have been like, when are you doing the giveaway? I'm like, maybe we get some more Patreon followers. We'll just pick a name out of a hat. I'll make Eric pick the name out of the hat, then we'll give it to one of the followers. So
I'll be unbiased. I'll just...
Yeah, you won't know who's who, will you? Maybe. I don't know. Unless you're following me over there, you might want my shoes. I don't know. But yeah, check it out if you want to. I post some stuff over there, pictures behind the scenes on the trip I just did on the West Coast, and some other cool stuff. Drop paint schemes before they're released and stuff like that on there. That's fun for the few people that are following me over there.
And speaking of paint schemes, I did notice this. We addressed this before we started recording, but you got the Hot Wheels door on the wall behind you. That's a pretty that's pretty sweet.
This. You guys remember when I said Ross should probably get his butt whooped? I have that door as well now. Yeah, there it is. It's kind of sitting.
Oh, the 15.
There, yeah, there it is. That is from Dover when I said he should get his butt whooped. So kind of cool that I have that door as well. And what's also cool is that the 48 door there, that is Darlington. I think that's a 6th place. And that is also Darlington, winner of the paint scheme throwback deal. So shout out Ryan Pisana again for winning that award. But also, yeah, really cool that I have these doors. I've tried to collect a body piece from each team that I've driven for, and no one's seen on this show either. I don't even know if I can get this up there. Look at that. Oh my
gosh, how high are your ceiling go? Oh wow,
it's pretty high. That is the 30 truck from Daytona in 2020, y'all. I think I was in every single crash.
It looks pretty
in
good.
that race. I think I was in every crash, but yeah, I have that door as well. So I've tried to keep a little bit of it from everybody that I drove to just have as a memory one day, and maybe my kids and more of my grandkids, if I'm that fortunate, will be able to see this and be like, man, and they'll probably look at these doors then and not a long time from now and be like, man, Grandpa, Dad, those cars were weird looking, because we look back at all that. Talking about how weird all the old cars look. So maybe
what will they be making
thinking that about me?
What will they be making?
Think about the safety improvements too. Yeah. They'll be like, "You really drove like that?"
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Your car didn't even fly. What are these horse and buggies you were racing, Grandpa?
Maybe.
Maybe one day we'll get flying cars. I don't know. In our lifetime, who knows? Well, on that note, great collection there, Brennan. Your office studio getting quite the upgrade. I got to play catch up. That is going to do it for another episode of Power Hour. We will see you all again very, very soon. Thanks a ton for tuning in.